Welcome to Keystone Connect, a podcast and video series connecting friends to faith, culture, and good vibes. Brian, do you usually do those same signals every time?
No, it
you
kind of
added
changes
or
up
edited?
each time. I think I'm still figuring it out. It's like when you're in, like kids' church and you do like the motions to like the verses.
Yeah.
You're like,
Right.
do the Macarena.
Right.
So yeah, no, I change it up every week a little bit.
Nice. And did you ever come up with one here at Keystone Connect that you've never done before?
Intro, like intro motions.
One of those little signals that you just did.
No, I think I did a little this one.
Oh, the little
for
wave.
The vibes. Yeah.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Keystone Kids inspired.
So what we got going on our podcast today?
Today, we're having a special guest share some dadisms that everyone can admire and chuckle at. And we got a couple good news stories, some quick ones, and then a huge switch up today. You are interviewing me for an exclusive interview.
How does it feel to be the interview feature of the podcast you yourself run?
So I usually think about Keystone Connect on Wednesdays. That's when we film. And I was like, man, I gotta think about what I'm gonna say. The questions are easy. I'm always just asking kind of these basic questions, but now I gotta think about how I will respond and what I'll say. So
yeah,
it all comes down to what questions you ask.
Your
very
identity as a Keystone staff member to our viewership is on the line.
Wow. Okay.
This could change everything.
Yes. You know what did change everything though?
Jesus Christ
And the fact that my mom gave birth to me 28 years ago to this day.
Today's her birthday?
Yes.
Dude,
I have been waiting to tell you
literally been
until we've been on film.
Well, you texted me, you're like, when is your birthday? And I was like, this is my birthday.
So this is why I asked you. Today is also National Egg Roll Day, I found out when I was scrolling some good news. One of the good news videos that I saw, they're like, today's National Egg Roll Day. That's good news. I was like, you must be slow on, good news stories today.
I feel like national holidays are so low on the totem pole of things that get me excited.
Right.
Like national holidays, like Christmas, Easter, like 4th of July, those are exciting. But
right.
national bring your panda to school day.
So you're telling me that these ones I'm about to say don't excite you, which are also days of June 10th.
Maybe they will excite me.
National Ballpoint Pen Day. Nothing like a nice ballpoint pen.
I mean, I am passionate about pens, but I don't want to celebrate them on any day aside from every day.
National Iced Tea Day. Depends if it's sweetened or unsweetened. That's a big difference there.
Yeah.
National,
and if it's got some lemonade in it.
Okay, this one's a stretch. National Black Cow Day, which what is that even?
Okay, I don't know if this is talking about cows that are just black, but A&W, have you ever heard of this? A&W has a drink called the Black Cow. And it is, you have your root beer float where it's, root beer and then you float an ice cream thing in it.
Right.
A Black Cow is when you blend the ice cream and the root beer together. So instead of a milkshake, you're using root beer instead of milk. And you get like a shake consistency, but with root beer flavor.
Ooh.
So if you're
Have
a person.
you had it?
Oh, dude, I had an A&W in my hometown.
Where's the closest A&W to here? Do you know?
I have no idea.
Right.
I have no idea, honestly, but I love me a good A&W, drive-in kind of thing.
Right. Nice. Just like you like the National Herbs and Spices Day as well?
As long as I'm going to Kentucky Fried Chicken, because they got all them herbs and spices.
So then yours, because I asked you your birthday, I randomly texted you. I was just like, what's your birthday? I looked up yours. You have to just pick one of these as your favorite.
So December 28th.
December 28th. National Short Film Day. National Chocolate Candy Day, National Card Playing Day, Holy Innocence Day, which I had to look up, and this is my favorite for you, Pledge of Allegiance Day.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you gotta go.
Okay, for any of you patriotic listeners, I don't know if I should get into this. One, I'm Canadian, so there's that point. There's also, your philosophy on if children should say it in school or blah, blah, blah. I don't know. What is Holy Innocence Day?
Yeah, I'm just looking at it here.
Holy Innocence.
Holy Innocence Day observed annually, blah, blah, blah. Commemorates the execution of the innocent male children in Bethlehem as told in Matthew 2:16.
That is my favorite day. That is my favorite day.
Holy
I love to celebrate the execution of male children in Bethlehem thousands of years ago. Every year, every time, I just drink red pop, and I eat I don't even know what I did. Just all I got is red pop to commemorate the blood.
Yep.
But why is that a national holiday? Why are these
So
national holidays?
I'll put the link into our description as well if you ever want to look up any of these random national holidays. Wow, voice crack. National holidays that are you or your friend's birthday. Because next year I feel like I'm gonna have a nice egg roll to celebrate my birthday. Or
Your
I'm gonna
birthday
tell
is on
someone.
National Egg Roll Day.
Right.
Do you like egg rolls?
I do. Dip in a little sweet and sour sauce.
See,
too.
I feel like egg rolls are always hit and miss. It's either real good or real bad.
Right,
Like
that's true.
for me, that is truly one of those things that doesn't have an in between. I feel like
Yeah.
an egg roll is either great or just I'm like, ugh.
Not a big fan of buffet egg rolls. Those are nasty. Have you ever been at a buffet where they've been out for like
No,
3 hours?
Not
and
a
you're
fan
just
of the buffet egg rolls. Big fan of buffets.
Right, I agree.
Shout out Ming 10. I miss
Yes.
you, and I will be back
That
to
$9.99
you one
lunch special.
day. Heck
Let's
yeah,
go.
man! All you can eat.
Ryan, that's our
sushi.
next hangout when
When
Ming 10
it's
opens.
open. Maybe it's open now. I know you can get carry out, but getting carry out from a buffet place is just hypocrisy.
Right.
It's just
What is that?
it's just straight. You're just messing.
That's robbing them of their pride and joy,
Right.
which is the buffet. So, but that is good news that things are starting to open up. That's the conversation now. And I have 2 short bits of good news that
Okay.
I wanted to get into. So it is around this time. It's grads and dads, people graduating, also Father's Day. I coined that phrase this morning, and I was really happy about it. Grads and dads, this mid-June time.
I think that already exists
It
on
probably
so
does.
much marketing, but I'm gonna let you own it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Speaking of owning it, this man in Colorado just completely owned it because he was sneaking around the neighborhood and writing cards and giving money to graduates. One of the graduates in this Colorado neighborhood said he's like a little angel floating around the neighborhood. Some limited video coverage of him was out there, but he remained pretty incognito. So not only was he doing these awesome acts of kindness to these grads that for a lot of them, and I'm sure you've heard a lot of stories with some of your Anthem high school students, it's just really hard. And it's like transitioning into summer, so much uncertainty with whatever school they might go to in the fall. Just spreading a little bit of hope and joy through that. So impressed by that, but also impressed by him remaining pretty incognito. Kind of a cool little like ninja acts of kindness.
Yeah, I like that.
How cool would it be to be
like
like a ninja with acts of kindness? Like, I wonder if that exists.
I feel like everyone who does acts of kindness, if they accept it in their own humility, is a ninja. You, viewer, can be a ninja of acts of kindness.
Yes. Second bit of good news. There are Skittles freeze pops now. But they're only at like Dollar General and Walmart, so I never really go to either of those two. So I might have to go now because of Skittles freeze pops to at least give them a try. If they can compete with like the original super cheap freeze pops that I feel like defines our childhood.
OG freeze pops. Did you
Right.
ever do this when you put juice in the little ice cube tray and then you put
Oh,
saran
yeah.
wrap and just stick? That's the OG
So
freeze
good.
pops right there.
Man. Or like the plastic coverings.
Yeah. Or if you had
Purple
like
or
the
blue.
legit ones, we just did that because we kind of like that when you put your toothpick or whatever in, like you like
Right.
it frozen stuck in you. As a kid, you're like,
Science.
science. Whoa.
Yeah. So those are our 2 little bits of good news.
Some little
So
nuggets, just
some little nuggets.
nuggets.
Just little guys.
I like
little,
it.
Little pieces of hope.
I like it. Well, hey, why don't we shoot over to our exclusive Father's Day Dad Juicy Juice.
Juicy juice.
Juicy juice.
All right, yeah, let's do it to talk about some dadisms and celebrate those 1 or 2 liners that are just amazing from our dad friends out there. Hey Keystone, Eric here, and we have a special Keystone Connect feature in which myself and my dad are going to roll through some scenarios that you are probably familiar with. So I'm going to read something that might happen, and you might have seen it in your household, and then my dad himself is going to respond. When doing the dishes, dads love to do and say this.
When I was a kid, I was the dishwasher.
After being introduced to a ton of people in a big group, dads love saying,
Hope you listened up, because there's gonna be a quiz later.
So it's a Saturday morning, you're sleeping in, and you end up walking down the stairs, and Dad's probably already done a bunch of things, and Dads love saying this line.
Nice of you to join us.
When handing off a grocery cart to someone, Dads love saying,
Left a little gas in there for you. Shoot.
when they see a friend in public, Dads love saying,
Oh, hey, I guess they'll let anyone in here.
okay, this is one of my favorite ones that I know I've heard my dad say before. Whenever there's someone washing a car right next to your house, Dads love saying,
You want to do mine for me?
now some of you have definitely heard this before when you're at a store and the clerk's trying to cash something out and they can't quite scan it. Dads love saying in that moment,
Well, I guess it's free then.
so I think this has happened to all of us. We're in a rush, so we leave the house really quick to remember we forgot something. We come right back in quickly, and Dads love saying,
Well, that was fast.
so when your dad is probably lifting up something pretty heavy and he's struggling a bit, Dads love saying,
Go lift your legs. It's not heavy. It's just awkward grip, you know. It's not heavy, just awkward. Oh, my back. Oh, my back. Oh, yeah, that's gonna be it.
so to those dads out there, you are welcome for some new, fresh lines in case you haven't used any of those. We also want to acknowledge people that have stepped into the role as dad. You are awesome. Have a great Father's Day, everyone.
All right, coming out of that just exclusive little piece here at the Keystone Connect podcast. You know what, that guy, what a handsome dad.
Yeah.
What a good-looking
Good-looking
guy.
dude.
Where'd
great,
you find
great
him?
one-liners. That actually is my dad.
That is your dad. Wow. Do
Yeah.
you call him, what do you call your dad? You just call him dad?
Yep.
Not daddy-o?
Pops.
No daddy?
He's definitely more of a pops.
No
when you hear those one-liners, you're like, yeah,
That's
pops,
my pops.
for sure.
Yep.
I gotta have my pops.
Gotta snap crackle.
Yep.
All right, dude. Well, we have got the feature interview for this week's podcast.
Exclusive feature.
And if you guys tuned out in the beginning, this person that we're gonna to really hone in on is wise, intelligent, well-spoken, driven, purpose-fueled, Christ-following. It's gonna be a good one. You ready for it, Eric?
Yeah. Initially, I thought you were talking about someone I knew, and then I was like, maybe you're not. So we'll see who pops up here.
We'll see who comes up for our interview. Let's head over to that right now. All right, friends, we are here with our exclusive interview feature with Eric Hollis. How are you feeling being the interviewee?
I just got to do some signals that
Yeah.
you usually do.
Yeah, when I
So it
introduce
feels
the clip.
good. I can
Yeah.
just kind of shenanigans and like color commentary.
Yeah, man.
I'm asked the questions. That's why I'm dressed different. It's kind of like my alter ego.
Yeah,
This
just
is like
a
Enrique.
little.
Or it's Eric.
Enrique.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's why I have the tropical shirt,
Looks nice, man.
You know,
Looks sharp. Good for the
backwards
summer.
hat.
Big
So-
fan. So my hope for doing this interview is, I think for myself, I would love to learn more about you, and I think for our viewers, especially Keystone viewers, getting to know you as our community life director, because you've been at Keystone right around a year, right?
Yep,
Which is
just about.
sweet. So I would love to know just a little bit of your background. So for you, what brought you to faith, or what brought you to following Jesus?
Yeah, so I grew up in the church. My parents have been divorced since I was 6. But both households always went to church. At some point, I kind of had a decision if I wanted to go or not, but I still just went because they had bagels and it was good. And I was in high school, early on in high school. And I enjoyed youth group and everything, but just kind of was going through the motions, was a little bit a cause of my environment. I grew up in Columbus, Ohio, in kind of a suburban area similar to East Grand Rapids. And I guess my faith started to become real when someone outside of my parents really talked to me about my relationship with God. And that someone was my Young Life leader, who I met junior year, that was a soccer coach, and it led me to many years of doing ministry through Young Life. And it was just amazing to have someone in college, a cool person, talk to me about a relationship with God, challenge me, study with me. I can ask questions to him. I can be honest and vulnerable with him. So I feel like that started to lay the groundwork for my faith. Mm-hmm. And then college, when I went to Calvin, I was still kind of questioning. I just didn't want to fully commit because it's college and you can explore, you can party, whatever. I feel like I kind of explored that a little bit like freshman year, and I was just like, you know what, I want to just be all in for Jesus and see what it's like. And so I connected myself with different people in Calvin, got involved in some ministry there and Young Life, and so just met a lot of really cool people that kind of helped me really develop my faith and kind of just connect everything. You know, I feel like a little bit before I was kind of, I would call it a buffet Christian. Like, I like this about Christianity. I like this, I like this, I like this. And then I just felt like convicted, like I just need to at least give this a try of giving everything to God. It's not going to be perfect, you know? And there was plenty of years of me, you know, messing up and taking steps back, but it just felt like a path of surrounding myself with people that really helped me with my faith, and that I felt like it was a step in me just giving everything. So continued to just grow and really develop. And I can't say that there was like one moment in time, but plenty of moments, plenty of retreats, conferences, and then consistent fellowship throughout those years have just really grown my relationship with Jesus. And I actually got involved, this is kind of a funny bit, got involved in Keystone because me and my ex-girlfriend at the time went to Ada Bible. Then one of my friends was like, you should come check out Keystone with me. And I was like, I'm in. I don't want to like go to Ada Bible, like see my ex-girlfriend at the time. And so it was just great timing. And I ended up coaching soccer at the time after I graduated. And I knew a bunch of the kids, and I was volunteering at Coffee. And so I ended up kind of helping out with kids ministry, got more involved, then worked part-time for kids ministries. Then this position opened up kind of internally, and Randy brought it up to me and said, would you be interested in something like this? Because I'd gotten to know Randy over some years being at Keystone, and I just said absolutely. And like when he asked me about that, I just like went back to my car and just like cried, because I was like, this actually, when Jim Davis stepped down from this position when I was here a couple years ago, I was like, man, that would be like my dream job. And they're like, I wonder if that could ever happen. And then Randy pursued me about it like a year after that point.
Yeah.
And I was just like, felt so blessed by God in that moment that like my years of being in a career, I was like, you know, something just kind of feels a little off here. I was in, I did some marketing for Michigan Sports Academies and enjoyed that experience. And I also coached, but I was like, you know, I feel like something's missing in the sense of I just really want to engage with my faith, and I really want to grow in my faith. And that's kind of all I really want to talk about or be involved in. Like I talked about character, and like I was the character and community guy at the soccer club and would oversee that for all of our programs. But, you know, naturally, and I couldn't really talk about the gospel at all. I just had to point to these really good character attributes, but I was like wanting to talk about what's underneath that with the gospel. And so it's just crazy how it all worked out, and I just feel very blessed, and I love everything I do here, honestly. And that's not me just saying it because it's Keystone Connect podcast. And so yeah, that's a little bit of my background and my story. Probably left out a lot, but
hey man, I appreciate just being able to hear that, you know, and obviously from, you know, growing up to where you are now, there's going to be so many details in between because God is so like interweaved in the fabric of our lives. But just being able to see the whole, at least a picture of the blanket, you know, is really cool, man. And I think that's sweet. So you've landed at Keystone, which is incredible. You're now doing this job of community life directing. What does that look like for you, and how does that impact Keystone and the church as a whole?
Yeah. So my role, community life director, is essentially anything that people are getting together outside of Sunday, essentially. So small groups, certain events I help out with, as well as I'm currently working on what we're going to launch. So this is the hot take, sneak peek. We're going to launch something called 3D, Diving Deeper Daily. And so those are devotionals that I've been kind of writing that relate to the big idea message. And so there have some scriptures, and then I write a little bit of commentary, and then some journal and discussion questions. So an easy way to get in the Word and kind of help make the Bible come to life and understanding the Bible. So that's a big step in that direction that I've been taking a decent amount of time to write for, and I've really enjoyed.
That's awesome.
So yeah, just communicating with small group leaders, trying to think of like easy on-ramps for people to get involved. You know, I mentioned and talked about like getting rid of that stigma that like small groups are something that's like really intimidating, and that
like hyper spiritual.
Yeah, hyper spiritual. Just having
you have
this
to be perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
Having this come as you are mentality and making them enjoyable, and just getting rid of that thought that people are just so intimidated by small groups, and like opening up, like how can we find ways to make people feel comfortable to walk in that door and to continue to grow in their faith with Jesus within that. So it's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed it, and I think it caters well to my strengths and what I enjoy doing, and I feel like I'm constantly growing here, getting to know people on staff and being guided by a strong leadership team.
That's awesome. Now, would you say, this is kind of taking the interview in a slightly different direction. It's a simple question, but I just love hearing people's heart in this question. Why do you love and follow Jesus?
I guess it kind of goes down to just living a life of purpose and leaving this world better than I found it. And the best, perfect way of doing that is living how Jesus lived and dying to oneself and following his example of love. Like at the end of the day, when I die, I want to view myself and my life. Let's say we compare it to like cars. I want to view my car or truck as like a beat up kind of tow truck that had a long life and had a lot of value and helped a lot of things and a lot of people. While I feel like a lot of people, I don't want to say a lot of people, I don't want to get to the end of my life and feel like a polished up Ferrari and I'm just trying to maintain my happiness all the time and it's only for me. So it kind of goes down to, it's one of my favorite quotes, but it's just talking about, I think it's a Ralph Waldo Emerson quote, like if someone has breathed easier or lighter, and if you've helped people, that's a good life. And I believe in my heart the best template for that life is following Jesus, and I've seen him show up in so many different ways, and just that grace is just so moving and so powerful.
Yeah.
And just undeserved love, and if we can all do that and all get behind that and have some difficulty here in this life in order to make the world a better place like Jesus did, it's just amazing what we can do.
Yeah, I love that. And now, as we wrap up our interview, I have one more question for you, because I think as church staff, there can be a perspective that people have on us because they see us in limited environments, whether it's on a stage or through videos or whatnot. And I would love for our viewers, even just to get a snapshot, a glimpse, what is something that you wish more people knew about you, Air Calls?
Knew about me, like personally?
Yeah, so like personally, but it's just something you're like, man, I do this, and people have no idea that I do that. Or it's even like maybe there's something deeper, like, man, I wish people saw this side of me because they only see this.
Right.
So, or maybe it's like, man, I love wind sailing, and I'm very passionate about it.
Okay, so there's a couple different things I think here. I have a long history with just like working with kids or coaching kids, and so I just love hanging out with kids. So what Tara and I kind of do, sometimes we'll like house sit for people or just like watch over their kids for a weekend, and I just love doing that. So if you know me, if you trust me, we can always house sit for you, or we
Yeah.
can always hang out with your kids on a weekend night and just do something fun.
Man, so you're just
I love it.
offering up like
Yeah.
babysitting services.
I didn't
You're
know
like,
what-
I just wish more people hired me to hang out with their kids and at their house.
You know, I don't know if my wife would be okay with that. I didn't know it was going that direction, but I enjoy doing that.
Well, Tara, if you watch this, if Eric's wife watches this, she's like, what the heck, man? We have everything booked out.
Yeah, and then I guess another thing would be that I long for intentional relationships here at Keystone, and I would just love to get to know more people on like an intentional relational level. Not in the sense of like, I think it's great to smile and say hi to people on Sunday, but I just want this to be a place where people feel comfortable sharing their story, coming as they are, and I love being intentional with people. So
Yeah.
whether we're on the camping trip, you know, that I help plan and organize, or we're at a certain event, you know, and I kind of come up and talk to you, I would love to just get right down to the point, you know, like
Yeah.
kind of like I love getting underneath the small talk. So
Yeah.
if you're a person listening to this and you like to get underneath the small talk, I would love to talk to you.
I think that's huge. I think when people walk in the doors of a church, seeing less strangers and seeing more friends
Right.
is always critical.
And it's so cool how you can just know someone's story and just love them, you know, and just like, I don't know, I like when I get to know more people, just like what you're talking about, you become more friends, and it's just like Bob and Betty Joe have it because they work through so many like with couples and like premarital counseling, and they know so many things about them that it's just a sense of intimacy, and when people walk in, they're friends, and that I long for Keystone as well as myself to just become a community of just great friends, that not just people in your small group, but people outside of that maybe in some regard.
I love that. Cool. Well, hey, Eric, thank you for coming in for this interview.
Exclusive,
Official, feature interview.
So Ryan, thank you for taking over as the interviewer. How did
No.
it feel being in the interviewer's seat? Did you feel?
You know, it was a lot of pressure.
Right.
But
I feel that every week.
I've
every
been inspired by your week to week, just hostess with the mostest skill.
That inspires me.
And it was fun. It was actually cool to get to know you a little bit more.
Right.
I've learned new things about you.
Right.
And I hope that our viewers have as well.
Awesome. So to conclude here, we have a recommendation roundup. And what I'm putting in here, we talked about some resources for steps towards understanding and racial justice within the church and educating ourselves. I thought it'd be great to put in a link for 5 children's books that talk about the gospel, but also talk about racism and how those come together.
Cool.
So none of those resources were on last week's podcast, so I thought it would be great to just send a link to an article where it talks a little bit about the differences in the book, and if you want to purchase one, that'd be great. The second link that we're going to have I was looking through like a bunch of like books on faithful justice in the conversation of being a Christian and understanding racial equality in a lot of different ways. And you could like, with this resource, you can see all these different titles, you can read a little bit about them, you can see the covers, and one that excited me a lot in kind of, if we want to pan and show it on our video right now, you can kind of scroll through a little bit. The one that I really liked was 12 Lies That Hold America Captive and the Truth That Sets Us Free. So that's the one that I'm going to be checking out and ordering. And you're currently reading a couple right now. Did you start one of them yet? From what you talked about last week?
Yeah, I started reading The Hate U Give, which is kind of a fiction novel that feels all too real. That's about the main character is a black girl who grows up basically in a neighborhood where there's like racism and it's a black neighborhood, and just like the different things she experiences there, while also going to a white school. But the real catalyst of the book, the real tension, is she is going somewhere with her friend who is black, and the officer ends up pulling them over, and he ends up getting killed. And the events that follow, the drama that follows, it's kind of weird because the book was written years ago, but feels very real to what we're experiencing now. It's super well written. So The Hate You Give, highly recommend reading it if you're looking for something that's more story driven rather than nonfiction. It's a good read and really eye opening.
Yeah, love that. And if you want to listen to anything, we have our fresh new Spotify playlists. I continue to update our new quality worship playlist, and Ryan continues to update the Keystone Community Church playlist, filled with really good pop songs, really good songs that have some meaning within them too, that are safe to listen to with your family. And yeah, those are good. I love making those playlists and listening to them throughout my month.
They're just good background playlists. They're good encouraging playlists. Like, an encouragement is a huge thing. I need that now. You know?
I've been listening to a lot more music in regards to faith recently, just because I just need it right now.
Right. Well, and that's the interesting thing is the reminder that not only like I need it right now, but I need to continue needing it. So
no doubt.
Cool. Well, hey, does that like a good cowboy and his herd of cattle round up our
It does, unless you want to talk about your new famous lunchbox here in like 15 seconds.
I hesitate talking about it because I don't want to speak about something I'm not overly familiar with because it's super new to me. So I have right here under my stack of books, you might not see this blue thing. And this is, and I've already finished my lunch today, so it's not full of anything. It is called a Bento Box, which essentially is a Japanese lunchbox here. And all that it really is, camera and viewers, is a small little box that is compartmentalized with little pieces. And the point of the Bento Box that I have experienced so far, and I don't want to speak too ignorantly, but why I've picked it up, is not only do you experience Japanese cuisine through it, so rice and I've got a little cabbage in there, as you can see, but like different Japanese things, Japanese foods and cuisine, is it limits the amount of food that you eat for lunch so that you're not overeating. So it fills you up like 80%, so you feel satisfied, you're sated, your hunger is sated, but you're not stuffed. And that's kind of one, like a diet, and I'm eating healthier things in this.
Right.
Like today I had hummus and crackers, had some red peppers in there, some cheese and some turkey. You know, and it's a lot of different stuff, but it's smaller portion size. And now I'm not going out and buying stuff as often for lunch because that's an easy habit that I fall into. Is I don't pack and then I buy something.
And I liked this because it reduces wastes of like bags and different things. Like you just put the food straight up in there and then you end up washing your lunchbox every day essentially.
Right. It almost just feels like lunch boxes from elementary school were made cool now. Right, because this is kind of what your mom already did. You didn't want to take Tupperware to school. Like, this is me. Okay, Lunchbox Culture. I didn't want, especially in high school. Culture. Especially, you're like, let's talk about 15 seconds. Now it's new passion. Middle school, high school.
Ryan 101, right?
You had three options. You either bought lunch at school, you packed your lunch in a paper bag, or you packed your lunch in a lunchbox. And when I went to school, packing your bag in a lunchbox was not cool. The nerds, like the true nerds, the geeks, did this. And geeks, I love you. I'm so sorry for any hate you got for Lunchbox Culture. Because then you have your bag and it just is cumbersome and silly and your mom makes you pack Tupperware and it's just so much. But then you had your paper lunch bag, which doesn't seem too bad, but you've got Ziplocs and you've got you've just got all these things you're gonna end up throwing away every single day. Or you bought hot lunch from the hot lunch line, which we just never did.
That wasn't a Canadian thing, hot lunch. It was just
I didn't
grilled
go
moose.
to school in Canada. I went to school in America. So, I mean.
Shows how much I know.
It's okay. It's okay. But I feel like this, like if I rolled up to high school with this, I seem cultured. I'm eating like just this diverse mix of things. You know, people are probably intrigued. So if you have kids, explore this and make your kid popular and cultured.
How do you spell it? I'll put the link in the bio too.
It's Bento. And again, I don't want to speak too ignorantly about it because it is a different culture's kind of thing.
Right.
And I don't want to Americanize it too much. And if I've done that, I'm so sorry. But hey, I've enjoyed it and I'm excited. I'm going to do, I think I'm going to try rice and chicken tomorrow. Just rice and chicken.
But you, like we were talking about it, you have to eat it cold because you can't really heat it up. Then you
Yes.
put it on something else. But,
Yeah.
So that's something to keep in mind. If you want a cold lunch,
But I ain't a
Bento
hot
Box.
lunch person, you know? I ain't need no hot lunch unless I'm making
Yeah, you were
soup.
born in Canada where everything's cold, so you're used to that.
This is true. I
Yeah.
was
You were
born in
born
Canada.
in Canada.
Just didn't go to school in Canada.
And then
so,
for our viewers, like I know like pretty much your whole story, but for our viewers, when did you come to the United States then?
we moved when I was 2, actually.
Okay.
But my entire family, extended, my parents, my older brother, all Canadian.
Okay.
So we had a lot of that cultural piece. It felt like when we moved to America, you know, first generation immigrants, but from Canada, so it's not as dramatic. But there is, when you move from any other country to a new one, you do feel a little bit of that outsider culture, and you view things a little bit differently, which I think was super helpful growing up. So yeah, 2 years old to now.
To now.
To now.
To
I
now.
still live here.
Yep.
I am currently living in the
You're
United
currently
States.
living here, and to conclude this podcast, you will still be living here next week, probably.
Hopefully. I hope to be back next week.
Cool. We'll bring you back.
Thank you so much. I'm glad I have not been fired yet.
So speaking of bringing it back, we'll be back here next week, and please subscribe, share with your friends if you were encouraged by anything. We'd love to hear from you if you liked a certain bit or anything too, so just feel free to comment as well. But until next week, grace and peace, friends, and check out everything. We'll have the info in the bio.